Most survival guides, they seem to assume you've got some high-tech concrete bunker just waiting for you. But let's be real. You don't. I don't. So this is the plan for the rest of us. It's based on hard science for when the unthinkable happens. This is your playbook. Okay, picture this. There's a brilliant, silent flash on the horizon. It's way too bright to be anything normal. That's a nuclear detonation. And the shockwave is just seconds away. Your emergency plan can't just be hoping for the best. What you do in the next few moments, well, that determines everything. And look, this isn't some Hollywood fantasy. Everything we're about to cover is based on what government agencies and, the laws of physics tell us. It's all about maximizing your chances with your wits and whatever you've got around you. All right, let's get into it. The first 15 minutes, this is all about pure primal survival. These aren't just suggestions. These are the immediate actions that literally separate the living from the statistics. You've got to move fast and move with purpose. Okay, three critical things. First, whatever you do, do not look at the flash. It's going to cause instant, temporary blindness. Second, drop to the ground, now. The blast wave will toss cars around like they're toys. You need to be as low as possible. And third, get inside. Any sturdy building is way better than being out in the open. We're talking seconds here, people, not minutes. So let's talk physics for a second. A basement, that is the absolute jackpot, because all that earth and concrete are incredible shields. An interior room, no windows, that puts a lot of mass between you and the outside. But cars, forget it. They are absolute death traps. And windows, they're about to become thousands of tiny glass missiles. Get away from them. Okay, so you made it inside. Congratulations, seriously. But listen, the blast, that was just the opening act. Now comes the real killer, the invisible enemy. I'm talking about radioactive fallout. The next 48 hours are all about fighting a threat you cannot see, hear, or smell. So, here's your first line of defense against that invisible killer. Fallout is basically just radioactive dust, and it clings to everything. By stripping off your outer clothes right there at the entrance, you can get rid of up to 90% of it. No joke. Seal those clothes in a bag, get them away from you. Then wipe down any exposed skin. And don't shower yet, you need to conserve every drop of clean water you have. All right, next job, you've got to turn your shelter into a sealed container. Turn off anything that moves air. The furnace, the AC, you name it. You're trying to stop that deadly dust from sneaking in. Grab some duct tape and plastic sheeting and cover up the vents. Seal the gaps around the doors. This isn't a magic force field, it's just basic physics. Keep the dust out, you keep the radiation out.
Now, I know all this sounds absolutely terrifying. But here's the thing. This is where we turn that fear into understanding. Because in this fight, physics is actually your greatest ally. Yeah, you heard that right. The very nature of radiation gives us the key to surviving it.
Okay, check this out. This is probably the single most hopeful piece of information in this entire scenario. Radioactive decay is exponential. What that means is the most dangerous stuff disappears the fastest. After just 7 hours, the radiation intensity drops by 90%. After 2 days, it's down to just 1% of what it was. Time is literally healing the wound. That's why staying put is the most powerful thing you can do. The second big principle? It's all about shielding. Gamma radiation is stopped by mass, by putting stuff between you and it. The rule of halves is a super simple way to think about it. Every time you double the thickness of a shield, you cut the radiation getting to you in half. So 1 layer of bricks cuts it by 50%. 2 layers cuts it by 75%. See? The math is on your side. So what does that actually mean for you? It means you can literally build your own protection. Start stacking anything with mass. Push furniture against the walls. Pile up books. Yeah, those old textbooks are now life-saving radiation shields. Even stacks of canned food or jugs of water will help. The more stuff you put between you and the outside, the higher your chance of survival. Simple as that. So you've made it through the first 48 hours. Now you might be facing the hardest decision of your life. Staying put is always the default plan, but sometimes staying put becomes even more dangerous than leaving. This is what we call the go/no-go decision. And look, this isn't about getting cabin fever. This is a cold, hard calculation. If your shelter is stable and you have supplies, you stay, period. But if the building is about to collapse or you're completely out of water, you might have to move. You're choosing to accept a calculated dose of radiation because the alternative, staying, is certain death. And speaking of supplies, let's talk about water, because this is the big one. 1 gallon per person per day. That is the absolute bare minimum you need. So for a family of 4, you're going to want 56 gallons for a 2-week lockdown. Pro tip, your hot water heater is basically an emergency reservoir holding 40 to 50 gallons of clean water. You should probably figure out how to access it. So how in the world do you make that go decision? I mean, you can't see radiation, you can't smell it, you can't feel it. Your only honest friend in this whole situation is a Geiger counter. It's the one thing that gives you the real-time data to know if it's safe enough to make a quick run for supplies or if opening that door is a death sentence. Without it, you are flying completely blind.
All right, so how do you take all this theory and turn it into something you can act on, like today? Let's run through the critical gear that turns this from a scary idea into a real survival strategy. This is the stuff you should have had ready yesterday.
And the crazy thing is, this essentials kit is remarkably simple. Water and food, obviously. A crank radio is your only connection to what's happening out there. Duct tape and plastic sheeting, that's for sealing your shelter. And of course, that Geiger counter, that's your key to making smart decisions. This isn't some extreme prepper gear. It's just practical stuff. You know, the most surprising part is how accessible this all is. Putting together a basic kit for your family isn't going to cost you a fortune. For about the price of a new video game console, you can buy yourself a real fighting chance. Think of it as the best insurance policy you hope you never ever have to use. So, at the end of the day, it all really comes down to this. We've gone over the science, we've talked about the strategy, but survival really begins with a choice you make right now, long before anything bad ever happens. Just remember, your greatest weapon, it's not something you can buy. It's not a gun, it's not a fancy bunker. It's understanding how radiation actually works, knowing how shielding works, and remembering that time is on your side. That knowledge is way more powerful than any physical defense you can build. Look, when the unthinkable actually happens, you're not going to have time to Google this stuff. You'll only have time to act. You've got the information now. The choice to use it, the choice to prepare, that's all on you. So when that flashlight